know.
Okay, I see. I got pooped on. There you
Yeah.
go. It's supposed to be good luck when you get pooped on. Did you know that?
Not for a secret. I think I told a few. Well, a few
Yeah, they're taking turns.
I'm not sure about the size of the walnut.
Got the size of like a demi-tasse espresso cup. Yeah, you can drop a $50 in it. And it's amazing to watch the nesting process. I try not to like peek and stare at them because I don't want to be a game pointer for the predators.
This one will keep touching you with his feet.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Okay, gotta chase him away. Hear the mid-air collisions. I've never seen them have an accidental mid-air collision either. Every time they collide, it's on purpose. And it'll be like this until all of a sudden it's like somebody ran up a flag and they all go, okay, time to leave. Yeah, they're trying to get that last little sip in, you know. Bartender's already called last call. Don't care where you go, but you can't stay here.
What a wonderful hobby.
Yeah, it is. Very fulfilling. I mean, this time of year, because there's so many winter visitors who like to walk and stuff like that, I get to meet people from all over the world. It's these guys. For them to be like this with me, I have to be calm. You know, it's like around election day, they were staying away from me because I was so upset. I worked on 3 campaigns and we all lost. Yeah. But if I'm upset, if I'm anxious, if I'm angry, if I'm not in a good frame of mind, they won't come near me. They can sense that. Which is why when there are people that just like walk up but don't want to get really close, I tell them, okay, that's fine. Because if they walk in and they're uneasy, the hummingbirds will sense that, and that makes them uneasy, so they'll stay away until they figure out what the problem is.
50, 60, 70 of them.
Right?
Yeah. There. There's one perched up in that tree that's just like super white. Like, maybe not white, but gray, not.
Yeah. The ones that are like more gray and more silver and less green are the broadtails. And you can spot them when they hover because they fan their tail out in like a half circle.
So because there's so much available, they don't have to fight over it, so they don't fight each other.
Right. But they're hummingbirds. They'll fight over everything else. But they tend to take their fights away from this part. They take it out of the chow hall. Yeah.
Why the feathers look like they're changing?
Because it's an iridescence. They are changing color. The angle of the light, the angle of your perception changes, and the color changes because it's a prism. It's not a pigment. Sometimes it's like they have a kaleidoscope on their face.
So they weigh
About 14 grams.
an ounce is about
28.
28.
Yeah.
So half an ounce.
Yeah. Yeah, I've helped folks I know in recovery, like study and work on their GEDs. And I had one guy, we were working with algebra, and he was like, "This algebra, I'm never going to use algebra in real life." And I was like, "Okay, how many grams in an ounce?" And without thinking, because he had sold cocaine and meth,
Like, you should know this.
he said 28 grams. And I said, "You just did algebra." You didn't call it algebra, but that's what you did. And then I got off all into the thing about, algebra was invented because of the Silk Road from China to Venice. They were going through a bunch of different cultures with a bunch of different money systems, and they had to make it all fit somehow. You can see it's easing off a little.
Steve got me with this too. They're having the 2 feeders. I've heard people say that they'll die if you don't keep feeding. And you say that's not the case.
Well, look at he was like perching right on my finger.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. He was perching right on my finger, just like landed right there, and I'm like, whoa, dude.
Their body temperature is around 105, so there'll be times when one perches on me, and that's where they perch is the warmest part of my body.
And you also say, Steve, you say a lot of these things on casting because I want to do. So you said about 320, 340 species throughout the world.
Yeah, 340. And
Oh, those guys are like duking it out,
yeah,
having a little sword fight.
sometimes if you get them like at the hover, backlit by the sky, the sun, or the moon, you'll get the rainbow prism effect through their wings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty spectacular. Their legs are very flimsy. They gave up a lot of structure in order to be lighter for flight. The muscles that their feet use to grip are incredibly powerful, and they're anchored up by their pectorals. So when they latch on to something, they latch on hard. But if their legs break all the time. And we'll see one flying with just a leg dangling. And sooner or later it comes back together. They don't walk, they don't hop. As long as they can perch, even with a broken leg, they're okay. Got another percher here at my left hand. This is a black-chinned female that I've known for like 5 years. She was born here. And one of her first flights. Yeah. One of her first flights, she was coming from the olive tree and hit the ground, so I picked her up and put her on a feeder, and we've been excellent friends ever since.
Nice.
Well, they aren't nurtured by the other birds.
Right.
And their existence is very precarious. So anything that helps them, they remember.
So you should have a broken leg?
No. They aren't taught how to fly. And so they have to learn, and gravity is their main teacher. Well,
and you didn't make it in terms of flying.
yeah. And that's one of the ways to spot the babies, because they're clumsy. They have to learn how to fly to target. They drift at the hover. A real dead giveaway that it's one of their very first times is they'll be at a feeder and they can only take a little sip, and then they have to tilt their head way back, because that's how mom fed them.
Okay. Makes sense.
And so they'll be at the feeder and they'll take a little sip, and then they'll tilt their head up, and then they'll fall backwards and have to flap their wings to get their perch back. And when they leave, they usually lose like 6 to 10 inches of altitude while they remember, oh, I got to do the wing thing. And sometimes they'll start their wings before they let go, and that can flip them upside down. It can be pretty hilarious. About half of the babies that leave the nest won't make it a year because they don't learn how to fly well enough.
I missed that.
They don't learn. About 50% of the ones that leave the nest won't make a year. Yeah. And it's because they don't learn how to fly well enough. They can absolutely starve in a few hours.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
A wealth of information.
I'm going to have to follow you on
You'll see yourself tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing.
it is, isn't
I
it?
love it.
And there's nothing I can use to describe it to people.
No.
There's absolutely nothing else like it.
Did your old dad have it right?
Yeah.
You ever did this before?
I've never done this before, Dad.
First time she said it was right about it.
I get that a lot too.
Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.